Welcome to Console Room 2024. Please welcome to stage our host for this panel, Christopher Jones.
Hello. You may not be aware, but we have a major celebrity here with us this weekend. He's kept a low profile, so you might not even know he was in the building. He is an actor, he is a comedian, he has starred in at least one major motion picture, but he is best known as the Seventh Doctor from Doctor Who, Sylvester McCoy.
Ahoy, ahoy. Ahoy, ahoy, Sylvester McCoy.
Have a seat, good sir.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad we got to do this. I'm sure you haven't had a chance to be interviewed yet this weekend.
No, I haven't. I've told all the lies I can think up.
Well, hopefully we can come up with a couple more.
Yes, indeed.
It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
I
I'm
think
delighted to be interviewed by you, and I love your art. It's wonderful.
You have made my weekend with that statement. Thank
No.
you so very, very much.
I mean, I discovered it over in England. You know, I've seen it, and I didn't know who you were until I met you. It was great.
Well, such a pleasure to hear you say that. Thank you so very much. For anyone in the room who somehow doesn't know, I had the pleasure and privilege of drawing a comic book miniseries featuring the Seventh Doctor. I've looked up a lot of photo reference of you online.
Poor you.
To draw all those pictures. One of the things that struck me looking at all that photo reference is you strike a pose very well. So many of the pictures of you have a very distinctive silhouette and it has a lot of character just in the way you're standing. I know you've got a lot of background in physical comedy,
Yeah.
but are you very conscious of not just facial performance, but how you're standing, how you're holding yourself when you're performing or doing publicity photos or things like that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I like photo. I mean, my son is a good photographer, and we did some photographs. And then I said, let's do them of my shadow, because I like, and that you can make poses, so the me and my shadow kind of photographs that I like. And yeah, I do know what I'm doing.
The cover I did for the first issue of the miniseries has your doctor standing next to Sophie Aldred's Ace, and the silhouette is so distinctive. I was like, in the marketing, I want them to just use the silhouette.
Yeah,
of that,
I like the
it's
silhouette.
so recognizable and
Yeah.
strong. What can you tell us about An Evening with Sylvester McCoy?
Well, yes. Originally, it was called An Evening with Sylvester McCoy, and then it became An Evening with Sylvester McCoy.
That's an amazing innovation.
I know. Progress. The reason for that
How
was...
lucky that they cast you with such a similar name to the title of that show.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was... I was actually known as Kent Smith when I got the job. And it was Ken Campbell, the guy that invented the character, and he did the song. It was from a song, My Brother Sylvester, and the McCoy was from a really bad taste joke. So I could do the song, if you want.
I don't think anyone's saying no, but all right, that sounds like a little more encouragement. Please do.
Have you heard about the big strong man who lived in a caravan? Have you heard about the Jeffrey Johnson fight when also Muhammad Ali won the night? You can bring all the heavy rich you've got, 'cause we've got a little man to beat the lot. He plays the organ in the belfry and he wants to fight Jack Dempsey. That's my brother Sylvester. What's he got? He's got a row of 40 medals on his chest, big chest, explored all the Arctic in his vest. He knows no rest. Big of the arm, strong of the punch, hellfire, son of a gun. Don't push, just shove. Plenty of room for thee and me. He's got an arm as big as a leg, a lady's leg, and a punch that will sink a battleship. Big ship. It takes all the army and the navy to put the wind up. Sylvester. That was it, really. So that's what my
How
name.
in the world do you still remember all that?
I don't know. I would brain drained or brainwashed into my brain, I suppose. I had to sing it every night, twice on Saturdays, for years,
How long approximately did that?
I don't know, 3-4 years, I suppose.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, well, that
We
would...
toured all over the world.
It would be hardwired in after that, wouldn't it? That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I won't. There are children present, so I won't do the McCoy one, where that came from.
Fair enough. That's on the pay-per-view version
Yes.
of this interview that will air later. Well, I know that you started out doing that kind of theater work and that kind of comedy work. I'm always struck by so many British actors jump back and forth from television or film to the stage, and very often we in America, if we discover you through something like Doctor Who, don't have the opportunity to see a lot of the other things that you do. Are there things that you did in your work in the UK that you wish more of your American fans had had a chance to see?
Oh yeah, I mean it would have been wonderful to come over here and do it. I did actually work in the Guthrie Theatre down the road. I came in with I was in King Lear, the Royal Shakespeare Company, directed by Trevor Nunn, the great Shakespearean director. And a guy called Ian McKellen, you might have heard of him. Kind of a tall fellow.
He was in The Hobbit.
He was. Was he? Well, there we go.
Maybe not the day you were working, I don't know.
No, we were, I played the fool to his King Lear. So we came here, and we came to here, and then we went to LA, and then
Do you know approximately when that would have been? Do you recall?
Oh, no.
Not to the year, but like what decade we're talking about?
Well, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago.
All right.
So anyone know? Anyone see it? Anyone interested in
This
Shakespeare?
is post Doctor Who for you.
Oh, yeah, no.
Or I should say during Doctor Who, since Doctor Who is the job that never ends.
It's post Doctor Who, although I never gave it up and did Big Finish.
Exactly.
But it's post Doctor Who and pre Hobbit, which I'm in, And
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea.
and it's partly because of King Lear that I'm in it, because we toured all over the world. A year and a half we were touring, and we went to New Zealand and met Peter Jackson, and he saw me working with Ian and thought, those two can work together in the film.
And given that he's a massive Doctor Who fan, I'm sure that didn't hurt things any.
No, he in fact, 12 years earlier, I was up for Bilbo Baggins in Lord of the Rings. And it got down, normally with the casting gives them 5 or 6 or a dozen actors who might fit. And then it took a year, they whittled down. They kept saying, no, you don't leave those dates free, please leave. And it went on, and then it got down to 2, and there were just 2 of us left. And then Ian Holm, the great Ian Holm, got it. Sadly, he was not free. He was free that week, so otherwise I would have got it. So that was the first time, Peter Jackson obviously, was a Doctor Who fan, and he liked me.
But obviously had seen your work outside of Doctor Who to know that you're capable of doing more than just playing eccentric Time Lords.
Well, that was 12 years before. He hadn't really. I mean, maybe he'd seen me, but never in the theatre. It wasn't until years later when I came with Ian and King Lear, and we toured down there. Then he saw me and Ian together, and then he cast me as Radagast the Brown, the wizard, the brown wizard. So that's how I got that, really, which was, really good. Yeah.
It was really good.
To get it. It was 3 years' work. Lovely.
I think a lot of us Doctor Who fans, not that we wouldn't have been looking forward to The Hobbit anyway, but once we heard that you had been cast, it was another reason to look forward to the film.
Really? Oh, right.
Oh, for me anyway, I can't be the only one. As we were mentioning, there is no really post Doctor Who. Doctor Who is the the job that just continues forever in some form or another.
I know.
As much as it must have felt very final when it gets sadly canceled out from under you.
Yeah.
But look, here we are, and it has continued and continued, both with convention appearances around the world and Big Finish audios and returns to the TV screen.
Yeah.
That's got to be an interesting thing where, like, for the rest of your career, there is everything else that you do in one track.
Yeah.
And then there's the track of, I was also the Doctor on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that experience at all?
Well, yes, I suppose it is the job that everyone knows me for. That's why I have to keep saying, I'm in The Hobbit, you know. So to remind people that I did do something else. But it's very funny because I come from Dunoon, Argyll, Scotland, in the Highlands of Scotland. It's a small wee town. It's kind of insular and kind of locked off, really, a lot of the time. And my family, I don't think they ever they weren't really into science fiction or Doctor Who. When they watched television, they weren't even into the acting. They were into the furniture. And you know, oh, look, that's a nice chair. And you know, someone's getting murdered, but they're not interested in the guy getting murdered. And that chair, oh, look at that carpet, you know, the car, all that stuff. That's all they were interested in. So I went to visit when I was at the height of Doctor Who. Now, I had done an advert for Scotland, kind of a soup advert. So that was by the by. But I arrive in Scotland, my cousins take me out to the local pub, and they go in and they say to all their friends, hello, this is my cousin Sylvester. He does the chicken nor soup advert. No mention of Doctor Who. They were more impressed by the fact I was, sitting there selling chicken soup rather than I was doing Doctor Who. So it's kind of weird. So they had to keep reminding them that I was in Doctor Who, you know. Then they said, yeah, we know, but you're also in The Hobbit.
I know I'm going to mangle the pronunciation. Dunoon? Is that the
Dunoon?
So growing up there, what led you originally to performing? What were your earliest ambitions of where you saw that going or hoped it would go? What did you want to be when you grew up when you were a kid?
Well, I wanted to be what I've ended up being, really. The thing is that I'm an orphan, you see. So if you're an orphan, you have to work a little bit harder to get people to focus on you. And so, in a way, that's a kind of performance thing. Hello, I'm here. Hello. I'll try and make you laugh, so you'll take a notice. So I was doing it when I was very young. I was making people laugh and making so that just developed. I never went to drama school because I eventually did go to London, and then the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. I used to walk past it, but it was such an imposing building. It looked more like a big bank than a drama school, and it always kind of scared me. So I never went through the doors and said, how do I become an actor? And thought that would never come my way. But as luck would have it, I worked in the theatre in London as in the ticket office and reception. And while I was in that theatre, there was another actor, a well-known actor in Britain called Brian Murphy. His wife worked there, so when he wasn't working, he'd collect the tickets I was selling, and we'd just loon around and have fun, and do stuff. And I didn't realize, but he presumed I was an actor. And so a director came in one day, and a director came in, Ken Campbell, and he said, hey, Brian, some bleeping guys let me down. I got this mad bleeping show. Do you know any mad young and bleeping actors? And Brian said, he asked the guy in the box office. I mean, he's out of his head. And so he came up to me and said, hey, do you want to join my show? And I said, yes. And that was it. I became an actor. And I arrived, and I had all these skills. And I had no idea I had this baggage of skills, physical, silent movie skills. And I think that's down to the fact that my mother was a war widow, and there was no television in those days. And so she was kind of lonely. And we had two cinemas, and they did two 2 nights for each film. So she'd go every night to the cinema. And I think she took me with her. And as a little baby, I saw Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin. I saw all those people. I can only think, because I had when I started acting, I had those skills without training, they were there. I don't know where they came from. Oh my God, I can do all that. And so I think that's why I ended up being the kind of actor I am, because of that, really.
Well, I mentioned this to you earlier in the weekend, but these people didn't get to hear your response, so I'll mention it again. One of the things that has always struck me about your tenure as the Doctor is that you were cast in the show at a time that the people making it were being directed to make the show funnier and lighter and less dark and violent than it had been during some of the Sixth Doctor era. And given your background, I can see why you would be, if not like the only choice, certainly an understandable choice for that approach to the role. And then over the course of your time on the show, it takes a turn to where your Doctor becomes more dark and mysterious and manipulative. And I thought it really added interesting layers to have seen both those sides. But, and I had asked what it was like as an actor to come in to a character with a certain kind of brief of what it was supposed to be and have that transition happen. And I thought I wanted to invite you to share what you were telling me about how you helped guide that and what your thoughts on it were.
Well, yes. I mean, the thing was that I hadn't seen Doctor Who. Patrick Troughton, way back in the 60s, was my Doctor, and then I became an actor and lost touch with Doctor Who and never watched it, and there was no means of seeing it even. There was no recording means. It went out on a Saturday, and that was it, never seen again. So I completely... When I got the job, I was ignorant of it. As luck would have it also, Andrew Cartmel was Canadian, and he didn't know much about Doctor Who. Now, I didn't know about what you just said about the previous Doctor and what they wanted me to do. I just arrived with my bag of comedy tricks, thinking this is what they want. And then I've discovered that's what the producer did want. But then when I started to think about the part, I thought, I've been handed one of the great TV acting roles. You can do anything with this character. And at the same time, my grandmother was 100, and in those days, that was quite unusual. And I went to visit her. She was very compos mentis and bright and sharp. But she was weary with age. And my Doctor was 950 years old, and I thought, I must bring that to the Doctor. I must, she'd been through wars. I mean, she was born in the Crimean War, and the First World War, the Second World War, the Korean War, and God, Vietnam, all these wars, and she'd lost people, children, and seen horrible things and experienced sad things. And I thought, I've got to bring that to my aged Doctor. And then also I thought, there's too much known about the Doctor. I want to bring back the mystery. So, I mean, and Andrew and I were in the same kind of boat with that. We discussed it, and he went off and told the writers, and then slowly we changed the Doctor to a more darker and, kind of mysterious Doctor. But at the same time, hanging on to the comedy. So, and I mean, I always thought it was great fun to be able to do comedy and then suddenly, with the flick of a switch, change it to dramatic or dark. That was good fun as an actor to be able to do that. And when I got the Fool in King Lear, as far as I was concerned, all the fools I'd ever seen playing a King Lear, someone put money in for the electricity, I see. So when they did the Fool and King Lear, they always used actors to play the Fool, not comic actors, but actors. And it was always, they went for the tragedy of the Fool and the tragedy of Lear together. They went for that and then forgot. And I kept thinking, no, there's humor there. And so when I got it, because of Doctor Who and my experience of playing both sides of the coin, comedy, dark, I brought that to the King Lear,
Can we get some quarters to feed into the? No.
The lights just come going on and off. Anyway, so I brought that to the Fool. And Trevor Nunn said, I came in once and did, because he'd been running the Royal Shakespeare Company and has been directing, Shakespeare since he was a young man and all that. He said, I've seen many Fools, but I've never seen one get so many laughs. But also, I tried to make people cry because it is so tragic. And that was what I learned from Doctor Who.
Well, I mean, Doctor Who's a great example of it. It's not unique to Doctor Who, but a character being funny does so much to help you invest in them and care about them that when it does turn serious or sad or tragic or that character's put in jeopardy, you care more.
Yes, the contrast affects people. Yeah.
So since your 3 seasons on the TV show playing Doctor Who, you've now done orders of magnitude more material for Big Finish as the Doctor than you ever did on television.
Yeah.
Obviously working in working in audio is very different. You have a script in front of you. It doesn't all have to be memorized. You don't have to be in costume. It's all being done with the voice at the microphone. But aside from that, are there differences about the experience of playing the character for the audio medium than for television?
Well, in a way, yes. I mean, for television, you use all of yourself, to communicate because it's a visual. People see you. And audio is most of the acting power comes through the voice. I mean, you have to be physical sometimes, to be angry or you actually use your body, but not in the same way. It's kind of to facilitate the voice getting over the emotion that you're trying to portray at that particular moment. So that's the difference, really. It makes it enjoyable, too.
Yeah, I often feel as a listener that there's something more intimate about the experience of listening to an audio performance.
Well, it's in your head, you see.
Yes.
Where you're listening to it, and your imagination is in here. You're seeing the inside of the TARDIS the way you want to see it, really. And you're seeing the monsters or the enemy the way you imagine them. Whereas you would be doing it differently, and you would be doing it differently. It's because it's inside your head, and that makes it much more intimate that way.
Well, and I'm a big fan of your era of the show, but it is certainly an era where the constraint of the budget is felt more in some stories than others.
Yeah.
And then you have the infinite resources in some ways of audio, where it is just creating the illusion in the mind.
Indeed. Yeah.
So, I think that's one of the fun things about. I've always been fascinated by revisiting the same characters and the same kinds of material in different mediums with the limitations and opportunities that the different mediums offer.
Yeah.
And so I find it very interesting that thanks to Big Finish, we've had not just Doctor Who, but Doctor Who with so much of the same cast that we've seen it done on television and then in the theater of the mind that is audio.
Yeah.
And again, the fact that because Big Finish just keeps cranking out insane amounts of material.
I know, it's extraordinary.
Do you have any idea of how many stories you've done for Big Finish?
Hundreds and hundreds. Really.
Hundreds and hundreds, as opposed to 12 stories for the television show. Is it four per season? I think 3 seasons.
Was it? I can't remember really.
But it's about a dozen stories. Yeah. So I mean that's amazing that contrast.
It is, and it's good in a way because Colin Baker's Doctor got a lot of stick. Partly, I suppose, it was the costume, and maybe it was over exaggerated. Various things like that, and he didn't get time. I mean, it was an arc. He was on an arc, kind of starting off kind of nasty, and then the arc would eventually make him more lovable, and you know. But he never got that bit of the arc. He got sacked before that happened.
Well, and given that this was happening in an era before the internet, these days if they fired an actor from Doctor Who, we'd all know about it by the afternoon. But I remember, because Colin had famously talked in interviews that he wanted to stay long enough to break Tom Baker's record. He was going to stay forever in that part, and I hadn't heard anything otherwise. And then they were doing pledge drives on our local PBS channel, Channel 2, where we all were watching Doctor Who in that era. And there was a video segment of John Nathan Turner speaking somewhere with you sitting next to him, wearing your straw hat, being introduced as the next doctor. And I, at first, thought this was some sort of odd joke that I wasn't understanding. But you were exploding off the screen with personality just in that interview. And, it was an interesting taste of what we were about to get with your doctor. And you became the first actor, to my knowledge, to have played two separate incarnations of the Doctor,
yes.
Given that you played the sixth Doctor wearing a wig.
Yeah, that's right. They put me in his costume. They lost me for 3 days. But I did that. And I held that honour until just recently. And then another Scottish actor has ended up being two doctors without even changing, the character.
He didn't even have the decency to wear a wig for it.
I know, yeah. So there's now two of us that do that. But what I was going to say about Colin was that Colin,
yes.
so that it was to do with the audios. So for Colin, it's been really good because he's been able to develop that other side that they never got round to in the audios, and he's become an incredibly popular doctor because of Big Finish, which is great, for him and for all of us, really. Yeah. So that's a good thing about Big Finish.
Well, it is amazing to me to think that for so many of you, the Big Finish series has allowed it to be a thing where a regeneration occurs. We get a new doctor, but the former one doesn't necessarily go away.
Yeah.
We continue to get new adventures and new performances.
I know,
from
that's
the
great.
Actors.
Yeah. And it's good. I mean, David Tennant does them, and I think Christopher Eccleston's doing them now, and various other actors who've been the Doctor are carrying on in Big Finish. So long may it last, really. Yeah.
I feel the need to ask you if you have any thoughts that may have sprung from your recent experiences about tomatoes.
Well, someone asked me what I've been doing. So I did a film, a short film, and then another one. I think is a full length film, but kind of a day's shooting on it. One week I was in Edinburgh, and the one I was doing in Edinburgh, I was playing a balmy botanist, and this botanist had for years been trying to find out the mystery: is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable? And the way he decided to try and define it absolutely was to ask the tomato. So he had to work out a way of communicating with the tomato and getting the tomato to communicate with him. And he used science and torture and all sorts of things. He tortured tomatoes and he did all this kind of stuff. So that's kind of the character I was playing, really. But he ended up, kind of in in an accident or a murder, we don't know. And it could have been a banana what done it. I believe someone told me on IMDb there's a trailer of it. I only saw that today. Someone's a trailer of it.
And do you know where that will find its ultimate release?
No.
All right.
We don't know these things.
Google it.
Well, it's on IMDb.
Yes.
I think.
All right.
I think it's called. Is it Banana? I can't remember the name of it now.
Banana Side?
Yeah, Banana Side. Yeah, not Regicide, but Banana Side. So that's what it was. Yes. So, and then the other one was I was playing a kind of a retired lawyer who's kind of slightly sleazy and kind of. So that was good, being completely bananas. And then being kind of. Was
that Beyond Fear, the other project?
No, Beyond Fear was. Oh no, that was years ago. That was the opening of Channel 5.
Well, tell us about that.
Well, it was a film. It was based on a true story about this guy who kidnapped an estate agent and kept her as a prisoner, and he got money for doing that. and he used to he bamboozled the police and everyone for a long time. And it turned out that he was a train spotter. He knew about trains. And he got caught because the girl who never quite saw him saw a badge of a train on his jumper once. And that was what eventually caught him. He had a wooden leg, and he used to, in a disused railway line, there'd be a bridge over it, and they'd put the money in the up thing there, and there was a bit of rope, and he'd pull it down, and then he'd escape, and they wouldn't know where he was, because he knew the lay of the land, but they didn't. Eventually, he did get caught, and he's in prison now, as far as I know. And so I was playing him. It was kind of a really nasty, horrible part. And in a way, it was a challenge. And when I did it, I used to come off this and go and have a shower because it was horrible, kind of horrible.
This was a made-for-TV movie?
Yeah, it was made for TV. Now, the thing is, it was Channel 5 didn't really know what it was. It was a new channel. They hadn't really thought it through. And also, the night it went out, there was technical problems, so half the country never saw it. And in a way, it's difficult really because you don't know the different channels maybe, but it was more of a Channel 4 film. It was serious, whereas Channel 5 ended up being topless weather forecasters and that kind of channel, for a while. I mean, it's developed.
And you could have done that.
Yeah, I could have done that, absolutely. But so they never repeated it, and this film got completely lost. Because of when Channel 5 realized what it was going to be, the film wasn't suitable for it. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then I know that there's certain amounts of independence between the various BBC channels, even though it's all BBC. So basically, there wasn't another home for it. It couldn't.
No, it wasn't
be shown.
It wasn't a BBC channel.
Channel 5
is
independent. It's not BBC
yeah.
5. It's Channel 5.
No,
I'm not
Channel
as familiar with the landscape of these things as
Yeah,
I
no,
should be.
yeah.
Were there other questions out there? We're chugging along fine up here, but I'm sure that we have not exhausted this convention's questions for Sylvester McCoy. Everyone's just very content to be listening. I'm not seeing hands. Oh wait, where's the hand? Oh, all right.
Sorry, hang on a minute. I better come down because I can't hear you. And
right. Do you need a hand?
Nope.
All right.
Nope. Where are you? Oh, there you are. I'll come to you.
With the BBC destroying a lot of the early episodes, is there any chance of finding an actor to portray the Doctor from back then?
Well, we have one, David Bradley, who does Doctor Who #1 very well.
Oh, I didn't see them.
All right. Yeah, well, he's really good. Oh, you got something good to look forward to. So what happened? How it all happened was that someone wrote a play about the starting of Doctor Who with the first Doctor and the drama of it. Mark Gatiss wrote it, I believe, and the actor playing Doctor Who #1 was in that play, and then he was so good at it, they decided to get him to come and do other Doctor Who stuff. So, I mean, I don't know whether they can go back and do those stories again, but he is now officially the Doctor Who #1, and he's very good at it. So, David Bradley, yeah. Hello, I'll come up to you.
As a prop maker, I was wondering if there were any props or devices that were on the show when you were on the show that were particularly frustrating in their inability to do what they were supposed to do, or if there were any props that you particularly liked working with.
Well, I mean, the first one, I can't really remember of any props. Things didn't work. It's 35 years ago, and when the negative things you forget. But I can tell you about the positive things. When we were doing the very first show, we filmed the outside bits, external bits first. And at the end of the filming, a week's filming out in the countryside, John Nathan Turner liked to have a party. So we had a party, and Bonnie Langford did her party piece, and she's a great West End, she's a brilliant performer, does lots of musicals. And I did my party piece, was playing the spoons. So John Nathan Turner came up and said, "Ooh, that's good. We'll have to have that in Doctor Who." I thought he was joking. Anyway, eventually I get the script, the first scene, and I'm with Kate O'Mara, who was at that time at the height of her fame, in Dysentery or Dynasty, whatever it was called, that TV series. So she was, oh, hello, bye. And anyway, so she was very well proportioned lady. And so in the scene, there's an engine that drives the spaceship that's not working, and I fiddle about in it and came out with these two things that look like spoons. And I start playing them, and I play them all over Kate O'Mara's front. And my goodness, did they bounce. And so, that was a very, a moment that I'll never forget. So, cheers, thank you. Ace!
Hey. Hello, Professor. First of all, my sister and I loved you in The Hobbit. We do know that you were in The Hobbit, so.
I am, yes.
Yeah. You did great.
Really?
Yeah, really. So my question was, we really loved the TV movie, the American one, and I was just wondering if you would talk about your reaction when you were contacted for that, and like how you felt about the process and just what you thought about it.
Okay, yes. Well, when I took over in Doctor Who and Colin didn't turn up for the regeneration, I remember swearing to myself that I would, or whatever happened, I would do a regeneration. Whatever happened, I would turn up, because that was rather important. And so 9 years after Doctor Who had been put into hiatus, it was the longest hiatus in history, really, because they came back to me and said, "Would you like to come and hand over to Paul McGann?" And I was delighted to do that, because Paul is a friend of mine. I knew Paul before he became the Doctor, and I thought, oh, great, it'd be lovely to hand it over to a friend. So I was very happy to go and do it, really. So, yeah, I had a great time doing it, because they gave me a Pantechnicon as a kind of a dressing room, and you could have kept 3 families living in it, and it was so luxurious. And then, what's his name who played the master?
Eric Roberts.
Pardon?
Eric Roberts.
Eric, yes. Eric wasn't there for the first couple of weeks. And then Eric arrived, and he looked at his trailer and said he didn't like the carpet, so they changed the carpet. And then he looked at the makeup people and said, I didn't like the makeup people, so he brought his own makeup people. And I kept thinking, I didn't know you had to do that. No one told me. Otherwise, I was quite happy with my carpet. Working for the BBC, having a carpet was amazing. So anyway, it was good fun. Yeah, thank you. Cheers. Oh, Radagast! He's the Hobbit,
I know that in Doctor Who, sometimes for specials, they have the 2 doctors, the 3 doctors. Have you ever discussed with Peter Jackson about the possibility of the 3 Radagasts?
3 Radagasts.
Well, we have 2 Radagasts.
Yes, I can. You got? Yes. I'm not sure. Shall we phone him up and find out? I think I know what he'll say. Anyway, yeah, no, you guys look great. In fact, but there's a book about the making of The Hobbit and all that, and they've got great drawings. And there is one that looks like your one, a bit like that, and then eventually they developed to you there. Yeah, so they look splendid. What? What? Oh, quickly, do it quickly, okay. Because, yes, this is kind of unusual. No, you can ask a question if you want. Right, all right. Hello, I was wondering if voicing a character in Fallout, London was interesting. And did you know Colin Baker was voicing a character in the game too? No, I didn't know that. Did I voice it in? Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that. Yes. So, it's a long time ago, and I didn't realize Colin was doing it. I didn't even realize I was doing it. It was such a long time ago. Yeah. Thank you. So, anyone else? Yeah. Hello.
Hello. So I like to ask this of people who have worked in shows that I love. What did you steal from the set? Well, the spoons that I played over Kate O'Mara's front.
They bounced well, I hear.
Yeah, and I had the costume. I've got the costume and the umbrella and all that. And the reason why I've got that is they gave me the costume for personal appearances. And then when they kind of put the TV program into hiatus, they forgot to ask for the costume back, and I forgot to give it back. So I got the umbrella and the costume and bits, but not too many bits, really. I didn't realize we didn't even take too many photographs in those days. I never realized it would become that collectible or that important. Yeah, so that was what I've got. Hello.
Hi. I guess I have a question for Sebulon Glitz. I really like, his character. Do you have, any stories about the actor and acting with the person that played Glitz?
Who's he? Is he in Doctor Who?
Yes, from
Tony.
he was in Dragonfire.
Oh, Dragonfire.
Yeah.
Oh, Tony Selby. Oh, well, yes, I knew him as Tony Selby. I never knew him as his name. Hi, Tony. So, he was really great. He was good fun, really good fun character. Good off the set and on the set. He was just really nice. It's very sad that he's now gone to a TARDIS in the sky or whatever it is. He's gone. Or maybe he's gone down below. It's more interesting down there. That's why I want to go when I go, because so many more interesting people are down there than those ones up there. I can tell you that.
Hello. First time at Con, first time meeting you. I'm absolutely in love. Sorry, sweetie. I don't really have a question. I am in love with your doctor, and I would love to see your doctor and Ncuti Gatwa's doctor together, rooftop, pub, I don't care, playing the spoons.
Cool. Well, I don't know if Ncuti plays the spoons, but I'm sure he's clever enough to do it. Someone did say to me what they'd like to see is the 4 Scottish doctors do a Doctor Who one. Hi, we all like that. Hello there, Doctor. You're right. Hi, I'm all right. How are you? It would be incomprehensible, I think. David Tennant, of course, didn't do it with a Scottish accent. And I got a phone call from a Scottish paper one day, and the guy said, hello there, Sylvester. He said, have you heard David Tennant's no doing it with a Scottish accent? What do you think of that? He was upset, you see, that he wasn't going to do it with a Scottish accent. And I thought, how do I answer that question diplomatically? And then suddenly I thought, I know. Well, I said, David can do it with a Scottish accent. Doesn't stretch him. But if he tries to do it with the English one, he's stretching himself. He's really, making it more difficult, but also more, if he achieves it, it's a really great thing, which he did. He was really good doing that. And then I said, and also, you see, in Scotland, one of our great exports, one of our great actors was Sean Connery. And of course, Sean Connery played many roles. And he played the Russian submarine man. Oh, yes, I'm a Russian. And then he played a Spaniard in the Highlander. Oh, yes, I am a Highlander. And then he played, he's played Americans. Oh, yes, I am American. And he even played an Irishman. And I mean, Ireland's only 12 miles away by water. Oh, yes, I am Irish, So, I mean, he's never changed his accent. So I said, that's why David also is doing it, because he wants to show that Scottish actors can do other accents.
But Sean Connery wasn't in The Hobbit.
Sorry?
But Sean Connery was never in The Hobbit.
No.
You can't claim that.
That's true. Oh, yes, I'm a hobbit. Oh, sorry, is this online question? Fire away. Hello?
All right. Online question is from Liz. Was JNT's dog in Survival and Curse of Fenric? Any others? Question mark.
Well, it's 35 years ago. I mean, how would I remember? I didn't even know the dog was in any of them. But no, he was only in the ones that you saw him in. That's all I can say. Anyone else question? No? Shall I go home? Right? No? Oh, yeah, coming. Right. There we are.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm just curious, can you tell your favorite story or memory of Nicholas Courtney and like what kind of person he was, what kind of humor he had, just anything about Nick Courtney? I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, Nick was lovely, really. When I was watching Doctor Who, I'd managed to see him, I suppose, in some of John Pertwee's ones a bit, and I thought I loved him I thought he was absolutely wonderful. I mean, he played, he was military intelligence, a contradiction in terms, and he played that contradiction in terms very, very well. And so I was always very fond of that character. And so years later, I got to know him. I first got to know him, we went on a cruise, a Doctor Who cruise, with John Nathan Turner and Nicholas and myself. And so we became firm friends. And he lived near where I was, and I used to go and visit him and his wife, and, with my wife, and we'd have dinner together, so we became really good friends. And then he ends up in Battlefield, that was it. So that was a delight to be able to work with the Brigadier. And so he was a gentle, he had a really gentle, kind man, but with a great sense of humor as well. But he was lovely. It's very sad when he passed away as well, really.
Can I ask a follow-up on that quickly before you move on to something else? As a fan watching, when they bring a character like the Brigadier back, it's such an event. There's such a sense of continuity of a character that's been with other doctors coming forward. When you're making the show, is there that feeling on the show of like, this is a moment for real diehard fans of the show that we're bringing this character back, or are you just so much it's the grind of getting your scenes shot that you aren't really thinking about that kind of thing?
No, it was. We did feel that. You did feel when characters from the past came, that it was really rather exciting, and everyone was really excited. I mean, when we did that dreadful mishmash thing with Doctor Who and EastEnders for a charity thing, the Brigadier was in that. And he had to fly in a helicopter, and he was terrified of flying in a helicopter, poor thing. So I remember that about him, really. We were holding his hand, don't worry. And they just did the last little bit. They took the helicopter up to about there, and then they brought it down again. And he was like, "Oh, thank goodness!" Yeah. So no, and it was delightful. When that happened, you felt respect for him and respect for the program. Oh, you've got a twin sister,
I think she was just up here.
Exactly.
I'm just wondering, is there a scene or a story, either from, maybe Pertwee or one of the doctors who've come after, that you'd like to, steal that scene or that story or that monologue for the Seventh Doctor, for yours?
Well, I didn't really see, as I said, I didn't see much of Doctor Who after Patrick Troughton. And again, that was way back in the 60s. That was about nearly 60 years ago, watching television. So I can't remember all of it much. But I mean, if there was something I would like to have, it would have been, I think it's David Tennant. Never saw it, but I believe he said wibbly wobbly things or sort of that. And I thought, I wish I'd said that. I'd like to have been able to say. So I suppose that might help. Part of your answer. Yeah. So, right, here I am.
Yeah, the other year I saw the movie The Owners, which showed a very different side of your acting. What was it like playing a bad guy?
Fun. It was good fun, really, and it was nice because the piece itself was quite fun because there was these two old people, and they were being kind of terrorized by young people, and you thought that was the journey they were going on, and then eventually there's a great twist, and it turns out the old people are nastier than the young people. I quite liked that journey, and it was great fun doing it and working with Rita Tushingham. No older people might remember Rita Tushingham. She was in Dr. Zhivago, and she was part of the 60s swinging London scene and films way back then. So it was one, and she's from Liverpool, and she's got a great sense of humor. So we used to do these very dark scenes, and then when we came off, we turned into a comedy routine. We just had to do the opposite, to get away with the curse of the playing these really dark parts. Yeah. But there was another hand over here. There we are. Yes. Oh, hello again.
I was watching the Five-ish Doctors the other day. Fun episode. Any chance of you guys accidentally sneaking onto the Enterprise set?
Yeah, that would be fun, wouldn't it? I remember thinking, well, when Top Gear, did you get, Top Gear was popular over here, wasn't it? Well, I remember because we were thinking of doing another one, and I said, well, because we Colin, myself, and Peter, they were going to replace Top Gear. We could do one about us replacing the characters in Top Gear. Colin could be the grumpy one, and Peter could be the kind of the one with the long hair, and I could be the young handsome one. And
Typecasting.
That didn't take off, so that didn't happen. What we were thinking of doing one for the 60th anniversary, before we realised that we somehow would be involved in it. So maybe that's why, because the BBC helped with the Five-ish Doctors reboot with some money to pay the technical staff. They all got, because nobody else got paid. None of the actors were paid for that Five-ish Doctors. We did it for the love of fans and also to stick one finger up to the BBC. So that was kind of. So BBC were slightly involved in it. In fact, what's his name? Oh yes, Moffat. Stephen Moffat didn't. When he looked at the script, because he was in the Five-ish Doctors, he suddenly said, "I'm the villain of this piece." So we approached the BBC again on about the 60th one, and they said, no, we weren't allowed to do it. So we thought maybe they didn't want us to do it because we were so much better than the 50th. And they didn't want to be upstaged by us again. I don't know really. But then it turned out they had little plans for us to come back, and Jodie's last episode, and also Tales of the TARDIS and that kind of thing.
High.
No.
Not yet?
I'm not high yet.
Just checking. What are your memories of working on the version of Dracula that you did in 1979?
Ah, yes. Dracula. Well, you see, I'd never been in a film, and I suddenly got cast. I was up for Renfield, and I was absolutely right casting. I was thin and wiry, and I was the right casting for Renfield. But for some reason, they decided they wanted to make him Renfield more of an Igor character, big with big teeth. And in the book, he's not like that. He's skinny, he's neurotic, and he eats flies and birds and things like that. And so I went to my audition for that. Well, they liked me because I arrived and it was a long corridor, and they were there, and there was a couch here, and I came down this long corridor, opened the door, and went in, and then flew into the couch. I said hello, and they kind of surprised them, and they thought they'll cast me anyway. So there was a servant part in the film, and they decided to cut it in half. They gave one half to an old man, and the other half to me. So I was playing this servant in the film, and who was a lunatic, resident lunatic. So that was great. Now, the only problem was that I didn't... John Badham, the director, never really directed me. Just said, they'd say, there was the one scene where I'm standing down here and there's a window, and Dracula had flown through, was going to fly through the window of the lunatic asylum, and they gave me a blunderbuss, big, blunderbuss. And so I took the blunderbuss and they said, okay, shoot. And so it was a fixed shot. So I shot and I blew, and then I flew backwards. And I thought, because comedy was my thing. So you have a blunderbuss. Of course you'll go backwards. And they went, no idea, what's he doing? And eventually I did lots of comedy stuff, and they never then we were having a New Year's Eve party at Donald Pleasance's house, and John Badham got a bit drunk, and he came up to me and he went, oh, Sylvester, I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to, all the bits I've cut out of you in the film, I'm going to put them back in and we'll turn it into a comedy. And that's when I knew that all the bits I'd done had been cut off. So lots of scenes were cut out. Also, Laurence Olivier, who was in it, he played Van Helsing. He took against me for some bizarre reason. In fact, Donald Pleasance actually went and had a word with Laurence Olivier and told him off for behaving so badly. And eventually Laurence Olivier kind of tried to apologize. But he did something really nasty. Laurence Olivier. We were doing this scene, and we were, Frank Langella had kind of sucked Kate Nelligan's neck and Lucy's neck of the character, and they needed a shot of Van Helsing, Van Helsing coming in. That was Laurence Olivier coming in, and me with garlic. So I had garlic coming into the room, and so that was a door. That was a wall there, and the camera was there. And so we'd rehearse it, we come around, and we do that, and we go in. It was just a connecting shot. They needed it to get to the next scene. And so they said action, we came along, Laurence Olivier and I went here, and Laurence Olivier did that to me, so I ended up hitting the wall, and he walked in all by himself, which was a horrible thing to do. And it wasn't that important. Then the director was kind of went, no, we don't have to do that again because, at least Van Helsing arrived and they know that means the next scene will be with Van Helsing in that scene. Well, anyway, that scene came along and I had garlic and I was up on a window putting the garlic round the window to keep Dracula out and all that kind of stuff. I was out of focus and I was so angry. I mean, furious. I was doing this and doing that. And then a friend of mine who was a great Laurence Olivier fan, an actor, came to me once after he saw the film and said, you know something? You upstaged Laurence Olivier, and you were out of focus. I was so angry at him. So that was my Dracula film story. Yeah. Anyone else? Behind me. Behind you. Sounds like pantomime. There we are. Hello.
I think this needs to be our
Ace.
last question.
Last question.
Yeah, all right.
Since I'm Ace, what's your favorite story of working with Sophie and Doctor Who?
Well, I suppose the story is the one where I saved her life, really, in real life. For those who don't know, it was in Battlefield. There was we were in the caves under the ground, and suddenly this, so supposedly glass door came down, and then water started to fill up, and I was on the dry side of the scene, and she was on the wet side, and so they put her in a tank, kind of a tall tank, and at the top of it, the two guys were pouring the water in, but it looked as if it was coming up. And so Ace was going, and I'm going, Ace, don't worry, I'll do something. Behind the glass, you see. So that was quite good, wasn't it? No? Anyway, so then I noticed the glass was bowing. It started to go like that. And I thought, that's not right. Glass is not supposed to do that. And realized that there was now tons of water in there, and if it broke, Sophie would be rushed out with the water and cut to pieces maybe with the glass. And also we were in a studio, there was wires everywhere, electricity. So I bellowed at the top of my voice, hoping someone would react to it, because there was no time. I said, get her out of there at once! The guys up heard me, and they put their hand down. Ace had a hand up like that, so they grabbed her and pulled her out. The glass broke, the water came pouring out into the studio, and I ran up some wooden steps saying, switch off the electricity! So in a way, that was kind of a good moment for me. I saved her life, I was, for a moment, a superhero. Of course, I had to go and lie down afterwards, and that's what superheroes do, really.
Well, let's have that applause back and a little bigger as a big thank you for Sylvester McCoy.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. See you at closing ceremonies.